Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, October 26th. My mother's birthday. It is 7:35 p.m. and tonight we have the Planning and Zoning Commission general meeting and we have a continuation of public hearings. Before we get right into it, tonight is Commissioner Jennifer Leahy's last meeting on the commission. We want to thank her for her 4 years of service on the Planning and Zoning Commission and wish her well in further endeavors with her little kiddos. I was in your slot with little kids and you got to pay attention to them when they're that size, that's for sure. But thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you. It's been a great 4 years.
Well done.
I need a pen. Okay. With that said, let's get right into it. The first item on our agenda, and thanks again, Jen, is deliberation and possible decisions on the following items. The first one is coastal site plan review number 362, flood damage prevention application number 415, land filling and regrading application number 515, 91 FMR LLC, 91 5 Mile River Road. And Jeremy, we have a draft amendment.
Right, we have a draft resolution in our packets. You may recall that they're going to take down the existing residence, construct a new residence. Only a small portion of the property is adjacent to the 5 Mile River. This is the structure that would be directly west and south of the house, which is now being constructed at 89 5 Mile River. So what we talk about in condition H is the permits that are needed for this work. There's a little planting in the area in the southwest corner. The commission is going to require some as-built surveys and other verifications from the engineer. But this, if I recall, is a pretty straightforward public hearing. And this application did receive approval from the Environmental Protection Commission. One note is that the applicant has proposed a building 29 feet, 10 7/8 tall, and building coverage of 19.94%. So in condition H, one of the conditions is that they need a number of as-built surveys because they're bucking up against both building height, building coverage, and setbacks, by inches. So it's important that they don't go over. And I think we want to be sensitive to that potential that they're really cutting it. Their toes are right on the line.
Yep. And the other thing that also, if you remember, we said this at the last meeting, again, the proposed pool and patio are going to be partially located in a flood zone, in an AE flood zone at
Yep. 13
feet. It's allowable. You're allowed to build in flood zone if you want to, but it's just basically buyer beware. Okay. Any questions, comments, Scribner's errors, typos on this one? We go around the horn. George, you want to go first? You good? Get a thumbs up. Carrie Gately, your light is on. Ready?
Only question in looking through, because of how close they are to overall coverage area, would anything like, I couldn't tell if pool equipment, generators, things like that, would that be included in coverage? And was that included in their calculations of overall coverage?
You do get 20 square feet for air conditioning units, generators, pool equipment, things like that. And that's why one of the conditions of approval is that the pool needs to be done last. Once we can ascertain that the house is done, the house meets all the requirements, and then we can confirm that the pool just barely fits in, and make sure all the, as you said, all the associated mechanical units also are compliant. So you're right, that's why the commission is approving it in that order, which would allow, if need be, if the house gets a little bigger, that the pool could be reduced. It's easier to reduce a proposed pool than a proposed house.
And actually, if I remember correctly, we did do that once. Somebody built something, and because they were over, we said, guess what? The pool just got smaller. Anything else, Carrie? You're good. Jeff Ball, you okay? Good. Where's Jim Rand? Jim Rand, you okay, sir? Jen? Got a big smile on her face. Great. Fantastic. Okay. I didn't really catch anything. These guys did a good job once again. Again, they have 1 year to do this application. With that said, I'd entertain a motion to approve as submitted. I think George Riley just made the motion. Jen made the second. Jen Leahy made the second. All's in favor?
Looks like 6-0.
6-0. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Good on that one. Before I go on to the next one, I just forgot one technical item. We are, again, this meeting, Jeremy Ginsberg and myself are in room 213 in Town Hall. And we're also conducting this meeting on the virtual basis via GoToMeeting as per the governor's executive orders that may eventually expire. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review number 253A as an apple, land filling and regrading application number 367A as an apple, James and Elizabeth Degnan at 19 Brush Island Road. Again, this was the small pool on a big piece of property on Brush Island Road, which is that little small street that's near Weed Beach.
That's correct.
Anything else special, Jeremy?
No, the draft resolution notes that the EPC did approve the project. That's finding number 3. This is a much smaller pool that's going to be tucked into the grade. Very, very small patio, much smaller than the prior application. Again, the commission is requiring an as-built survey here and a building permit, obviously, for the pool and spa.
Yep. That's what it is. Again, part of this house is on or near Holly Pond. Part of it is in a flood zone again. It's like I said, you're allowed to build there, but they have to beware. I didn't really see anything special on this one. Again, it was a smaller pool at a piece of property that's 2.16 acres, and it's a 1 acre zone, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a 1 acre zone. We could build a pool on 2 acre property. Questions, comments, Scribner's errors on this one? No? Okay. I can go around the horn, but I think everybody is fine. Okay, with that not said or said, entertain a motion to approve as submitted. Jeff Ball makes a motion. Jim Rand makes the second. All those in favor? 6-0. Fantastic, everybody. Thank you. These people get their pool. All right. Next couple items on the agenda. We're going to do deliberations only on the following items. The first one is subdivision application number 424C as in Charlie, coastal site plan review number 360, land filling and regrading application number 512, James and Margaret Tweed at 108 Nearwater Lane. This is a proposal to subdivide the property that's off of Nearwater Lane on kind of sort of a private driveway or private street into 3 lots. Jeremy, why don't you just remind everybody again what this is?
Sure. You may recall that this application was presented by Wilder Gleason and Craig Flaherty. They talked about dividing the 7-acre parcel owned by the Tweedies into a number of building lots, some which may need to come back to the commission in the future, some which would be as of right development because there's no flood zone on the property, no coastal resources on the property. 2 of the issues that came up.
Did they do building envelopes on these things because they're twisted?
They did.
Okay.
They showed those on the subdivision plans. You may recall we got comments from the fire marshal, especially as it related to the proposed private road that was going to be built. You may recall that Mr. Flaherty spoke about the proposed width of the road, how much of it should be paved. And the other main issue that came up was relative to the sight lines exiting onto Nearwater Lane and the 3 trees that were in the town right of way. They talked during the hearing about grading and drainage, etc. There was little to no neighbor input. There was a little bit, but not to a great extent. So we're here tonight to get comments from the commission.
Just a big plan.
And then Fred and I will draft something up for a meeting in November.
And this is basically an as-of-right subdivision.
Right, the commission has to find that it complies with the subdivision regulations. Again, there's coastal issues because it's on the coast, a little regrading, but not to any great extent. They included a planting plan from Bill Kenny, and associated report from Bill Kenny as well.
And every lot exceeds or matches the required size.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, questions, comments on this one? Jen, you want to go first?
So do my deliberations, because I'm not going to be here for the actual vote.
Yeah, but
Do you
you
want
still get to deliberate now and give us your input, you know?
Okay. I was okay with this. After hearing, I was okay with it. I was worried about the lot lines and I'm not. So I think everything else seemed to be okay by me.
Okay, thank you. Next one, Jeff, Paul, anything on this one?
I still have concerns about the trees heading towards the beach.
Okay,
And then I still have concern about the 20 feet versus 16 on the width.
So
Just in terms of turning things around. So
you're a fireman too, so that matters. Okay, Kara, do you want to chime in next?
I have similar concerns to Commissioner Ball regarding, because of the peculiarity of the driveways getting to some of the lots, that they need to, emergency vehicles would have to reach some of the homes or subdivided properties via the new road, and given the 16 feet width versus 20. And I know Mr. Flaherty talked a lot about different turnarounds and having certain different, while they're impervious, they're not, they are pervious surfaces on the side of the more narrow road. It still is a concern. Yeah, and because that road is so heavily traveled by pedestrians, including kids on bicycles and scooters, visibility exiting is also a concern.
Okay, gotcha. George, anything on this one?
I think those are reasonable concerns, but I have gotten over them and would not object to the layout of the street and the sight line as proposed. I took a careful look at that and I think it works. And I think the private drive or road, whatever it is, to the new homes will have sufficient flexibility for passing cars and whatnot. So I'm okay with it.
Okay. I want to ask Jeremy a quick question. 2 seconds ago, we went over the 19 Nearwater Lane. Remember? I mean, I'm sorry, Brush Island Road.
Mhm.
That one. That, if you guys remember, that is it. That to get to that house, 19 Brush Island Road, you go down a shared driveway, and at the end of that shared driveway is 5 houses.
I don't know if it's 4 or 5, but there are a number off that driveway. Might be 4, might be 5. I can't recall exactly.
Can we try to double check the width of that road to what's there? Because if it's the same one I'm thinking of, there was a turnoff line on the side where you parked.
I don't know if the commission can take any testimony after the hearing.
Right, but I'm just looking for precedence, that's all. No, is that illegal? See, what I'm trying to get at is I get it with what Jeff and Kara just said relative to the width of the driveway, and the width of it, because we look at stuff like that on the other one, 19 Fresh on Road, and also it came up on this 26 Peach, that one.
Mr. Hardy and Mr. Brown, you may recall, they had a shared driveway. That was 2 people.
Right.
I guess my question, Jeremy, on that would be, because I think that's an important point that Chairman Albani's raising, would be, is there a difference when we're looking at the subdivision regulations and if it's a road versus a private driveway? And I do know, I remember that Craig Flaherty did discuss that there are other private roads and non-private roads in town that are not 20 feet. So I think there is precedent. But is there a difference in the regulations if it's a private road versus a shared driveway?
Yes, I'm gonna have to go through the record and see exactly what was submitted. It's been a couple weeks, and go through what was in the record submitted by Mr. Flaherty and the fire marshal, et cetera, to see what evidence was put into the record relative to the road width issue.
To Kara's point, in our definitions, is there a difference between a private driveway and a private road?
No, but there's a difference between a low volume residential street,
Which is what this was supposed to be.
which allows the commission to waive down the requirements for such a situation.
Okay. Thanks, Kara. Jim Rand, any questions on this one or comments before we move on?
Am I correct in recalling that the fire marshal was okay?
You're right, Jim.
Vis-a-vis turnaround of emergency equipment, access, that sort of thing?
There was a comments received from the local legal traffic authority, Captain Shredders, who said he had no issues. The fire marshal did send in a memo, which is in the file, which I have right here, which I think we got to the commission about his input and feedback about
I'll just read that again.
hammerhead to meet fire apparatus turnaround requirements. With reduced road width, strongly recommend homes have residential sprinklers installed, verify sufficient water supply, verify 8-inch water main with fire hydrant, 2-foot side shoulders to support weight of fire apparatus. And hold on. No. Provide sufficient turning radius into driveways for fire apparatus. No. Parking along the road, I believe it says. A little tough to read the handwriting.
So does the final site plan have the 2-foot wide gutters on either side?
I believe it does, but I'll have to check.
Okay.
That was the sort of, like, it was, and I think how they described it was that it would be permeable surface, which, like they pointed out, was important in this sort of coastal wetland area. But it would be of a certain type of, surface that was hard enough that would allow for, heavy vehicles to, I think, turn and not like get stuck if it was wet. I think that's how they described it. But I do remember them speaking about that, and Craig talked about that extensively.
Yeah, it's called item 4, which is the stuff on the side, which is basically road bed, and they put the asphalt in the middle and item 4 on the side. So that's what they call, quote unquote, the gutter that the fire marshal's looking for. George Riley, I got you. Did we get everybody?
We did.
Okay, Jim Rand, did we answer your question?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just debating in my own mind if the fire marshal is okay with it, or whoever looks after that. Either as is proposed or with the other issues or related issues that Jeremy's just enumerated become part of the record and our approval, if we vote to approve this, then can't we just leave it with that? Do we have to, in effect, I don't want to say overrule, but do we want to impose on the applicant more rigorous requirements than the traffic authority has accepted?
Well, I think it's part of a 2-part question. Most of the stuff that's in the fire marshal's letter, I think the applicant is doing. The one thing I know the applicant is not doing is the sprinklers to the houses.
That's correct.
Because the fire marshal said, because of this, and this, we would recommend sprinklers in the houses. They flat out said no. Right, so they're not doing that. you know, the width of the road and the gutters, they got all that stuff, the hammerhead is in. They did everything the fire marshal said, except.
Thank you, bye.
Except for the sprinkling of the houses. Jeff, your light's on. Want to add something else since you are a fireman?
Well, I mean, even if you take the fire truck out of the equation and you use 2 delivery trucks, whether it's an Amazon or, you know, UPS, FedEx, whatever it is, can they fit side by side on the road if one's coming in and one's going out? So that's where the width issue is, you know, of concern to me as well.
Right.
So, and again, it's probably a rare thing, but you know, you just want to make sure that for the homeowners and anyone else who's making this investment into this property, that things aren't obstructed and, you know, cars aren't left on the road and you can't get another piece of any type of apparatus around it or, you know, what have you. So.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think they do. This is a little bit of a turnoff because we run into this stuff every once in a while. We did run into it on Brush Island Road when we did that 5-lot subdivision, and we ran into it again on Peach Hill Road, which is not. One car's got to wait and the other one's going to come. That's only 2 houses.
Yeah, we can start working on drafting something for an upcoming commission meeting. And if we have questions, we'll circle back to the commission.
Yeah. Right. Now let's go back to the other elephant that's in the room. With regards to those 3 trees, I would rather have those 3 trees stay and today and not quote unquote require the applicant to take them down today as part of the approval. If they come down later, they can come down later. But if we put it in the resolution that they have to take down the trees, and for some reason there's pushback either by the tree warden or by the neighbors or something else, then the whole thing goes sideways. I mean, I think the sight lines are fine. I only think there's going to be 3 houses on there. Anybody else want to comment on those trees? Because that's why we kept this thing open late for an extra day. Go ahead, Jeff.
Is there any way to put one of those mirrors across the street so you can see both ways?
I guess so.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, I was just looking for the solution of not having to take down the trees. I mean, if I'm the only one who thinks that, you know, it's of obstruction, then, you know, let it be and we can work around it. But
Yeah, we can certainly try to figure out if that's an option.
Right. What did the local traffic authority say anything about the trees?
They did not.
They did not. Were we allowed to ask them again?
I think I can find out. See, this is near Water Lane is a town road.
Right.
So they might have more flexibility than if it were a state highway. I think on state highways, like say Hoyt Street, DOT would not allow mirrors.
Right. They
But
have them on Hoyt Street, I know that, but by
they
Woodland.
wouldn't allow new mirrors, let's put it that way, because people ask all the time, and the answer is state's not approving it.
Right.
In this case, it's a town road, so there might be an opportunity. So that might be a possibility.
Okay. Carrie, you want to chime in on this one? I think you had a strong opinion one way or another.
No, I don't have a strong opinion. The issue with the trees, right? They're asking us not to require them. But is there any impact, right? If we say now we won't require them, does that mean the town can never, if DPW decides that because of, damage to sidewalks, they come down? Like, I'm sort of confused why they're raising, I guess I'm seeking clarity on why they're raising the issue of these trees now.
I want to try to answer the question. If I'm 100% wrong, Jerry, please chime in. But I think why they're read the subdivision regulations, and in the subdivision regulations, if there's an impediment to any kind of impediment that may potentially block the sight lines, the commission can either tell the person to take them down or require them, or they can waive it. So I think where they left it is they're indifferent either way. They didn't really care if they kept them, and they didn't really care if they took them down. They just wanted to make sure that we knew that regulation existed, that clause inside the regulation existed, and that we addressed it. That's why I think why they brought it up. I could swear.
I feel like it creates more confusion.
It does. It 100% creates more confusion, and he just made it more confusing by bringing it. But that's what Wilder did.
Right.
I think the sidewalk is on the other side of the street. Right? Yeah. to your point relative to sidewalks, Kara, the sidewalks that lead to Weed Beach are on
West side.
the west side of that
As an
road?
example, I was giving it as an example, like, you know, we, like, if it's on the town right of way, the tree warden or DPW or CL, like, you know, or Eversource or whatever the case may be, like, there's many reasons why trees potentially come down.
Right,
Or,
they can,
or acts of God, they can come down.
yep. The trees can come down by any of the other
Right.
entities that you're talking about. You know, we
Yeah.
can't force the trees to stay. Somebody else can do
Right,
that.
that's sort of my point. I just don't understand what they're asking us to do with their respect to this issue. I'm not clear what the ask is.
Good, Jim.
I think, Steve, you hit it on the head in terms of they're asking the commission to either waive the sightline issue in the subdivision regulations or
Force them to take down the
force them
trees.
to work with the town on removing the trees. So
Are they saying that there is a sightline issue? Are they conceding that there is a sightline issue because of those trees?
yes, Mr. Flaherty drew the sketch. It was submitted for the record. You remember it was 11 by 17, and he showed the sight lines with the existing trees. I think
But
it's in this packet. Yeah,
yeah, it's not technically an issue, but it's something that you have to say, do it or waive it.
yeah. So that's what we're here to get feedback on.
You know, my personal opinion is I would rather waive it and just let the tree stay. And then, you know, if someone else take them down later on in life, they can take them down. Or we could look at that mirror thing too. I mean, we can always require them to put a mirror across the street. That's easy. The other question is,
Discussion that there's a sightline issue. I
No,
don't
I
think
don't
we should leave that,
I
make
don't
a precedent, right? Because is there precedent with subdivision application and non-compliance or waiving certain requirements under the subdivision regulations? Are we now setting a precedent regarding sightlines? So I think sightlines are actually very important.
yeah, I don't think there's a sightline issue. It's something that you have to be aware of.
In the regs or not?
That you have to be aware of it. Yes.
All right, I'm gonna go read it.
So do you want to draft up something we can noodle with next time?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's not 100% decide today. Give me, as a show of hands, are we gonna make a positive resolution or a negative resolution to this subdivision? Jeff, go first.
So are we voting on each individual thing?
No,
or are you
no, just
voting
general.
for-
Just in general.
I'm okay.
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 George, you okay? Yes or no?
Yeah, as I indicated earlier, I'm positive.
Okay. Kara, up or down?
I'm generally positive. My concern is setting precedent regarding waiver of sightline issues,
Okay,
because that to me, that's a safety issue.
okay. Jim Rand?
I'm okay, positive.
Great. All right, so it's
Steve
positive.
O'Bannon?
Positive.
Okay, great. We'll get
Steve, I'm-
started.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jen.
I'm here. I have terrible Wi-Fi, but I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, so it's a positive resolution, but we have to make sure we check the boxes and make sure what we're talking about relative to safety and driveway and all that
It's
with.
going to take us at least a week, maybe even 2, to pull all the issues together. As Kara said, make sure all the issues are properly covered and that they reflect the
Okay.
majority of the commission.
Cool, fantastic. Thank you. Thanks on that one, everybody. The next one. Proposed amendments to the Darien Zoning Regulations, COZR number 6-2021, put forth by Baywater Housing Partners, LLC and Abilis, Inc. This is the proposal to amend our zoning code that we created in, when did we create it? 2018, 2019, 2020? Like a couple of years ago. It's the overlay zone for, it's called the Town Special Needs Housing Overlay Zone. And the big technical item is in the zoning reg, it says that it's designed for intellectually disabled people. They want to change that wording, which is one of the major points, to instead of being intellectually disabled, to make it developmentally disabled. The other item is they want the flexibility to, instead of having 6 special needs tenants in the building to have 5 special needs tenants in the building and 1 affordable housing unit for a quote-unquote employee. They've asked for 1 in each building for flexibility, where they could have 2 employees living in these in the 6th apartment in each building. But at the end of the day, they think they're probably going to have they at the end of the day, they think it's going to land up being 11 special needs residents and 1 employee that's in there. And relative to the employee that's going to work for Abilis, that employee would have to qualify under the affordable housing statute, which is it 60% of AMI or
I think it would be 80%,
Yeah.
which is here in section 454.
yeah, it's 80% of AMI. And AMI SMI. Well, that's even lower. Okay. So that employee's salary or income for the year has to be fit into the affordable category. It just, as my own personal opinion, relative to the difference between intellectually disabled and developmentally disabled, when this was really drafted, and me in a personal opinion, I don't know the difference between an intellectually disabled person and a development disabled person. When this was brought to us at the beginning, just as the name of the zoning code is, it's a special needs housing overlay zone. When it was created, Attorney Maslin redirected him to the state regs to take their person in there. And now they want to, I guess, switch it to the federal regs. The way it got back to us in the hearing is they want to make it broader and more inclusive for special needs people. But me personally, I think we're splitting hairs between calling someone intellectually disabled and development disabled. They're both special needs people. And the way the housing district zone was set up was it was supposed to be older adult special needs. If we looked at the application, and nobody's been awarded any apartments yet, no one thinks have been done, but one of the persons that is supposed to may live in the building, I think is 20 years old or 21 years old, because she was a graduate of class of 2018 from the high school, so that makes her 22. There was another person that said, you know, I want to live in the building, I'm 45. And they both have special needs. So that's what the whole thing was designed to do at the beginning. So what they're asking us for is to change the definition of intellectually disabled to the broader term, which is a federal term, I think, which is developmentally disabled, and to allow an employee to live there. The way it was set up originally is they could have had an employee sit in the 7th room, which is in both of these buildings. Both rooms has a cool common area room with a TV and a desk and a couch. And that person would just basically, you know, be a quote unquote, I call it a security guard that stays there overnight and sits there and stays awake. Now the person is going to actually have their own bed and be able to sleep in the building. And they won't have the quote unquote security guard. It's just going to be someone that lives there. So that's where the other person comes. It's always been designed to have someone be there 24 hours. My thing that I said at the hearing was it's either the person is an employee that's awake, or the person who's there as the employee is asleep. That's the difference. So that's my quick overview. We can go around the horn what anybody else wants to think or add. But those are 2 basic changes. And Jeremy, if I missed anything, please.
No, you may recall that the public hearing on this matter was one night. It was October 12th, 2021, about 2.5 hours long. We heard from the applicants, representatives from Abilis. We heard from both folks in favor and folks against. And the commission closed the public hearing that night. And the standard is, as we've acknowledged, whether the proposal is consistent with the 2016 Town Plan of Conservation and Development.
Good point. Yeah, that's the standard that we're supposed to go by. Is if we can make this adjustment or amendment to the zoning code, does it fit with the town POCD from 2016? And, you know, finding that, would you say it conforms? I mean, everyone else said it conforms. Okay.
Yeah.
George Riley, or Jen, you want to go first? Go ahead, Jen.
I am very much in support of this addition to what the definition is of who can be in the special needs housing. As a former special ed teacher who now has students who are adults and are still living at home, this would be a wonderful opportunity for many people that I know. I was very happy to see who came forward, and I'm in support of it.
Great, thanks, Jen. George, you want to go next?
Sure, I do think it fits within the POCD, and I think it's a fine thing to enlarge the pool from which Abilis and others will choose who can reside there. I think it may be worth noting that developmental disability doesn't necessarily include intellectual disability. I think of cerebral palsy as one example, hearing loss is another example of developmental disabilities as opposed to intellectual disabilities. So it really broadens the pool of folks who could reside there and who at the same time need the kind of attention that this facility is going to provide. So I think it's terrific.
Do you care about the other apartment being an employee versus a special needs person?
I think if they need a resident there, then no, as long as income qualified, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Jeff Paul, you want to go next? Your thumbs up? Okay, cool. Kara?
I agree with George and Jen and Jeff Ball that I think this reg amendment is consistent with the town plan of conservation development. Like the others have said, it provides not only more inclusivity, but it also provides Abilis who will be managing the property with additional flexibility to manage it in a way that best suits the needs of these residents who, I just remember a lot of them speaking, and what they said was they're seeking the independence to live and choose to where they live, like other young adults their age. So I think things that can provide more inclusivity and flexibility to a really important resource for not only the town but the state of Connecticut, I think is really important. I have no issue with units being available if it's determined that that flexibility is needed and necessary for employees, provided, like Mr. Riley said, that they meet the income requirements. And I think it's great that that additional units were provided in the downtown Corbin district development to sort of make, I don't think it was technically to make up for, but those units are for development, I think disabled adults who have lesser needs. So I think it's not taking away from any population. There's an increase on the other side. So I think this was a really creative and good solution that meets a lot of needs and satisfies and is consistent with our town plan.
Well said, Kara. Thank you. I also do think that the state is, other towns in the state have their eyes on this because other towns want to copy what we're doing. Jim Rand, last but not least, where'd you go, Jim? There he is.
With regard to the definition, I think we're splitting hairs. I don't have a view on it one way or the other, subject to the views of others that understand these things. With regard to the sixth man, so to speak, I think it's prudent and potentially a safety and security issue. We don't, nor do the managers, know who's going to be living there. And if I can use the term disabilities of one or more of the restaurant's residents in the building are such that they cannot respond in an emergency, it could be that this sixth man or woman could save lives. So I'm in favor of it.
Great, thank you. Well said. It's your splitting hairs item to me is the same exact thing I said. You said it more direct and eloquently than I did. So there's your answer. So we'll drop a positive resolution.
Yep.
To get this thing passed, and then you're gonna make the adjustments in the black lines and red lines of the zoning text.
Yep. We'll have
Okay.
something ready for a commission review in November.
Fantastic, which is 2 weeks from now. It's our next meeting, right? Yeah,
Potentially
cool.
that quick.
Do you think you can do it by November 9th?
We're gonna try.
Okay, we're gonna aim for November 9th anyway, that cares, everybody. And Jen, you won't be here, but thanks for your comments tonight. Great. Next. Coastal Site Plan Review number 363, Fred Center Prevention Application number 169A is an apple. Land Filling and Regrading Application number 555A is an apple, John Dayleader at 32 Plymouth Road. Again, this is a pool house that's being built on an oversized lot, I'm gonna say, in the bay.
Yep, north side of Shipway Road. They're building a stone wall to put the pool and spa on with an elevated terrace, and the pool house on one side, you may recall, it's an elevated pool house, 2 stories, if you will. First floor is at least 1 foot above the base flood. It's about 1,000 square feet in size, pretty substantial. Will take up a good portion of the yard. EPC chimed in. They're likely to act on it at their next meeting. There were no issues or concerns at the hearing. The EPC talked about the need to take the brush out of the wetlands and do a better planting plan. But basically, it's going to be a big stone wall holding up the pool, the spa, the little rain garden next to the pool and spa, and then the pool house where you can walk over to the pool.
Yeah, and the things that we asked for at the end, where the applicant's going to put on the submitted plans, was the height of the structure, which is basically going to be match our town regulation height, which I think it's 33 feet there because we raised it for the flood zone.
I'll have to check.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 33 feet. And also floor to peak, what that's going to be. And then the other line we just want to make sure was on the zoning box on the plans was the lot coverage percentage.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of impervious surface. It's a lot of lot coverage, but like I said at the beginning, this is a very oversized lot for the bay. Thoughts on this? Questions, comments, up, down, sideways? Jim Rand, want to go first? You're good? George Riley?
Yeah, I thought it was carefully engineered. I'm fine with it.
Okay, Jeff Ball? He's good. Kara Gately? You're eating, what's what are you eating, Kara? I'm starving.
No, my dinner, I'm starving. It was, as George said, a carefully engineered, really impressive plan. I will not, as long as it meets all the regs and, EPC, I have no issues with it. It's
Cool.
way over, right?
Jen, you still here?
She's here.
Where's Jen? Jen Leahy? I think Jen's gonna be okay. Okay,
Great.
Sounds like
We'll
good.
draft. Staff
draft
to
it
draft.
up. Fantastic. All right, that's the end of the, not the end of the general meeting. Can we punt the minutes to the end? So we can
It's
get right, so we can get right into the
It's
vote
up to
here?
you. And that way we can let Jennifer go, because she was going to vote on the minutes.
Oh, Jen, you still here? Where are we? Okay. Minutes. All right, let's just do the minutes, guys, and we'll close out the general meeting. We have to review minutes from September 28th, 2021. The first item was the Near Water Lane Tweedy application, which we just talked about 5 minutes ago. The next one is Brush Island Road. That's the new house, right? Regrading application with the pool and the house. Then we have 2 Contentment Island Road, another application that Miss Leahy introduced. Another one, which is JMM, a house on 14 5 Mile River Road. And then a resolution, which we can't change anyway, which is the resolution on 34 Pasture Lane. Another resolution on 273 West Avenue. Is that the lady with the driveway?
No, that was the zone
Yeah.
change Bob Maslin put.
Oh, that was Bob Masson's zoning change next to the Bank of America, People's Bank. That's a resolution we can't change, Hancock Lane. And that's it. Any questions, comments, typos, Scribner's errors? Anybody catch anything at all?
Okay.
None of these items were super controversial, any of the public hearings. And then the resolutions we really can't change anyway. Yep. Minutes. Okay, with that said, any questions, Carrie?
Minutes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think on page 2 of the minutes, where that the town fire marshal was satisfied with the reduced road width, I think we should note he was that as long as certain additional safeguards, such as the fire height, like the things that we just discussed tonight, were put in. The fire marshal wasn't just like, yeah, fine, reduce it. I think the minute should reflect that.
Okay,
So you're talking paragraph 2, Kara?
Page 2, not the paragraph that continues from page 1, not the first
Oh.
new paragraph on page 2. Right,
So
where they talk about the fire marshal?
Right, the fire marshal was satisfied with being that it's very low volume residential volume serving 4 properties. He also knows site distance. Okay. Plus,
Food,
you're right. I mean,
right, because didn't they, as part of the recommendations, there was the fire hydrant, like, so it wasn't, and the gutters like we talked about, I think that should be included in the minutes. So I think those are material factors.
Okay.
we'll make that change.
We'll make that change. Okay. Anybody got anything else? Okay.
Okay,
All right, good. So with that edit, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Jim
Jim
Rand,
Rands makes the motion. Kara Kate, did you make a second or were you scratching your ear? Okay, you said yes. There you go. Doing both. All those in favor?
5-0.
5-0.
Jen Leahy dropped off.
Jen Lee dropped off. Okay. What else is in the general meeting?
That's it.
Any other business? We're not gonna do any other business. Our next meetings are November 9th. Next week, we're off because of election day. We canceled that meeting. And then we have a meeting on November 9th and November 16th. We may have to add one on November 23rd, but we'll figure that out as the night goes on. Okay, so that's the end of the general meeting. And Jennifer Leahy, thank you very much again for your time on the commission. We're gonna go into a public hearing. We have 2 tonight to go over, and Jen's not gonna be on the commission when these things get decided, so she's not gonna be here anymore.
We got 5 going ahead.
Okay. Are we doing both of these, one of these, 2
I
of
think we'll
these?
read them both, open them both tonight, because the mailings were properly done. And then we're gonna focus tonight on the site plan for the shopping center,
Okay.
the text amendment for the shopping center, and then focus our efforts on that more so than the Goddard School tonight. We'll talk about it a little bit, but we're
So
gonna focus,
We're gonna open them both.
open them both, yeah.
Got it. That makes sense because the mailings were done. Okay. Public hearing. First item on the agenda is proposed amendments to the Darien Zoning Regulations, COZR number 8-2021, amendments to the business site plan application number 295, special permit application number 294, land filling and regrading application number 401, Norotan Heights Shopping Center, Comm Inc. at 346 Heights Road. The proposal is to amend sections 743 and 746 of the Darien Zoning Regulations to permit child care centers by special permit and to allow 3-bedroom residential units up to 2,000 square feet in floor area in the Norotan Heights NH zone. Amend the applicant's previous proposal to demolish the existing buildings on the site and constructs 2 mixed-use buildings, including the construction of an above-ground parking structure, reconfigure the parking and internal traffic circulation, create new modified internal public plaza spaces, and perform related site development activities. The 4.017 ± acre subject property is located on the northeast corner formed by the intersection of Heights Road and Hollow Tree Ridge Road, and is shown as Assessor's Map number 75 as lots 23, 22, and 24 in the Norotan Heights Business NH zone. The proposed zoning regulation amendments are on file and available for review in the town clerk's office, the planning and zoning office, and online at darienct.viewpointcloud.com. Do you want me to open up the other one now too?
Sure.
Fantastic. We're going to open up the second one too. Special permit application number 170C is in Charlie, Norotan Heights Shopping Center, Inc. Goddard School at 346 Heights Road, proposed to establish a new 11,276 plus or minus square foot child care center within the new Norotan Heights Shopping Center project to be constructed at 346 Heights Road. The 4.017 plus or minus acres subject property is located on the northeast corner formed by its intersection of Heights Road and Hollow Tree Ridge Road, and is shown on Assessor's Map number 75 as lots number 22, 23, and 24 in the Norotan Heights Business NH zone. So with that said, the first one's important because inside the NH zone, the Norotan Heights Business Zone, the applicant's asking us to add in the child care centers by special permit. If that gets through, when you pass that, then you're going to get into the second item, which is the special permit application to put the Goddard School inside the shopping center. So if they don't get the first piece, then the second one goes away. We do this all the time. We did it 2 weeks ago with Parklands, or a week ago with Parklands, where we open up both. So it's really full disclosure and to be transparent what we're trying to do here, or what they're trying to do here. And there's also additional hoops and jumps we have to go over this. Jeremy, you want to explain to us before we pass it on to the applicant? Anything I missed?
No, I think the legal notice pretty much covers what the proposal is all about. As everyone knows, the redevelopment of the Norotan Heights Shopping Center, which is the area close to Hollow Tree Ridge Road and Heights Road, does not include Palmer's Market. That's a separate parcel all the way to the east. So that project got approved a few years ago. Construction never got underway, and this is a look to amend that approval, a little redesign, which we'll talk to the attorney and architect about what's changed from the prior approved project, and they'll cover that this evening.
Fantastic. And again, just so you know, I mean, we talk about Darien all the time, and stuff is moving fast and we're developing stuff. This thing first came to us in 2016, right?
I believe so.
So we've been banging this thing around and studying it and watching it and making sure it's right for over 5 years. If you remember David Genovese, when he did his project, that was a 17-year process. I think federal was 2014. So we're not rushing into anything. We take it nice and slow. I think tonight we have Mr. Robert Maslin here to present to us. With that said, Mr. Maslin, take it away, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if Jennifer is still on here, but I wanted to just extend my thanks for her time and effort in serving the town on the commission. For the record, my name is Robert Maslin. I'm the attorney for the applicant in both of these applications. And well, first of all, Fred, can you, or whoever's in charge, let me control the screen and share my PowerPoint? I usually get something that, oh, here we go. Does that work?
You got it.
Okay. All right. So with me tonight, I have a list of names here for the spellings. On the Norotan Heights Shopping Center side, Greg Palmer is here. I did not see Jim, although he might be lurking about, maybe with Greg. John Vaccaro and Joe Vaccaro from V20 Group LLC. You'll recognize both of those names because they've done other projects in town under various names. and they've now moved forward as V20 Group. They're with me in the room here, so you don't see their names or videos up just yet. And their interest in this is potentially going forward with actual construction once these modifications are hopefully approved. Phil Cerrone is the current architect. I see his name on one of the videos. Matt Pop is also here. You know Matt, landscape architect, Environmental Land Solutions. Rob Pryor, PE from Landtech, is also here. I saw his name before. Neil Olinsky from, now it's SLR International Consulting. And Neil is our traffic consultant, and me. What I thought I'd do, Mr. Chairman, is, if it's okay, focus just on the shopping center, because there are quite a bit of things that need to be addressed and need to fall into place before we even get to whether you're allowing a school or a child care center, as this is going to be operated, whether it makes sense to even start a substantive presentation on the Goddard application. But to the extent that you have questions along the way, we can deal with that. And to that, in that regard, Ken Bodenstein is here on the call as well. I have not e-filed the PowerPoint for that application just yet, anticipating that we may have to make adjustments to it based on tonight's hearing. I have e-filed this PowerPoint that you're about to see. Don't be shocked if I mention that there are 49 slides. What I plan to do is make the presentation myself with various members of our team available to answer questions. I thought that would be the fastest way to do this. And I have probably many more slides than I really need, but if questions come up that regarding specific slides, or we need a slide to explain something, it's there. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
It's okay, but no offense to you by any stretch of imagination, but if you're going to talk about like the landscaping plan, I'd rather hear from Matt Pop than you speak from Matt Pop. And
Okay.
if you talk about the architecture and the parking structure, I'd rather hear from the parking structure, the guy that designed it, than you.
Okay.
You know, that's my view. I'd rather hear from the horse's mouth than.
Trying to avoid long night here. But,
I
okay.
understand.
All right. So just to give you an outline of the history, and this goes back to Sewer Commission, a conceptual approval of the extension to the sewer main. That was February of 17. May 17 is your original approval for the project. As you mentioned, there were previous applications for text amendments dating back to the original overlay zone that Tom Golden proposed. I would say it's 8 or 10 years ago now. OSTA
It's more than that.
approved. Sorry?
No, I think that was more than that, but that's okay.
Yeah,
Keep-
maybe
I'm sorry, I
10
wanna
to
stop
15. OSTA approved this development in 2018. July 2019, we proposed a couple of modifications to the project, relocating one of the underground garages to the surface level of Building 1 and eliminating 4,900 feet of surface level retail in Building 1 to make room for the garage. There's some of the critical things that I don't think many people actually realize, but this financing closed in November of 2019, and there was a groundbreaking in December of 2019, and that involved the start of demolition and some site work. And as you know, you have many steps that lead up to that. So this was in effect underway for quite some time. And then early in 2020, the lender pulled the rug, and I don't know how else to say that. It just happened, and it was early in 2020. And if you've been up around there or been watching this project, that's when work stopped. We now have new investors who have been identified, and with the new architect and the new traffic and site engineers, we're proposing modifications. So what we're asking for in the shopping center, I'll call it the shopping center application and the Goddard application, but what we're looking for are site plan review to convert a number of things. Convert the surface level of parking 1 from what's now approved as a parking garage to the Goddard school space. Remove the western portion of building 2, which included an underground parking garage with 1 level of retail and 2 levels of apartments, and replace it with a 2-level parking garage with apartments and an outdoor amenity space on the 3rd level, and reconfiguration of some of the aspects of the site to accommodate that. Modify the public plaza areas, and you'll see that in the plans. And we've been to the Architectural Review Board on October 19, 2021. And when was the follow-up meeting? There was a follow-up meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we've gotten a final approval. I don't know if Jeremy was able to upload the approval letter just yet, but if not, it's coming. The two.
Just for the record, that letter of approval for ARB was already emailed to me as the chairman.
Okay.
And all the commissioners member got it too. It was emailed this afternoon.
Oh, okay, so it's in the record. Fine, thank you.
Got it.
Okay, so the regulation amendments are number 1, to add childcare centers by special permit. The text is in the application narrative. And these 2 changes were filed with the town clerk's office a while back, so that's covered. And what I would say about this is childcare centers are currently allowed in the DO zone as an accessory use by as accessory use by special permit in the residential zones. And as you know, we have a separate Goddard application. This is consistent with the town plan of conservation and development, which recognizes a growing number of school-age children in Darien, and obviously there's a need for childcare when you have more young children. And amend 746 by adding note F, and what this would do is allow a limited number of 3-bedroom units, and it's basically the 25% of the incentive units under the inclusionary zoning regulation. And based on the numbers here, we're looking at a grand total of 4 3-bedroom units as a maximum. And those are proposed above the parking garage, which you'll see in a bit. And again, this is consistent with the plan of development. There's a policy of promoting diversity of housing, or diversify the housing portfolio by reviewing zoning provisions, et cetera. So, and I think there's also a statute that talks about size of multifamily apartment units. Okay, so I'll zip through these previously approved plans. These little outlined areas were actually part of the site plan, and they outline 2 areas where the Caltex are located. But this is it. These 2 buildings here were connected by a bridge. There's another bridge connecting building 2 over here, a public plaza area over here, public plaza area between the 2 portions of the back building, and building 1 ran along from the corner of Hollow Tree Ridge, and these 2 buildings are connected by a bridge. These are just details or close-ups of the drainage system. The red boxes show the area of the changes here. The one box that's actually, I'm going to make sure I do this right so you can see. Here we go. All right. This is where the building is being replaced by parking garage with apartments above. This building here, as a footprint and as a facade, is really not much changed. What's changed is these parking spaces are going to become primarily a play area for the Goddard School. this is a perspective of the original approval, and we've outlined in red the areas that we're modifying. And these are significant areas. There's some tweaks to the public plaza area, but I'm sure you're more interested in the buildings. And this is Heights Road at the Hollow Tree Ridge corner on the original approval. And this is the same corner, but looking from Hollow Tree Ridge. And here's our proposal. What I thought I'd put in first is the Cunningham table, just to put this into context. And what this table shows is data or numbers for the original 2017 approval, the 2019 modifications, and our proposed modifications for the pending application. And these last two columns show the changes first from 2017 to 2019, and the change further from the 2019 to the current proposal. So what you'll see here is in the residential units, we're adding 6 units. But while we're adding 6 units, we're only adding 4 bedrooms. So we're increasing the number of 1-bedroom units by 12. We're decreasing the number of 2-bedroom units by 10. And we are adding 4 3-bedroom units. And when you count them all up, it's 99 in 2017, total bedroom count, 99 in 2019, 103 under the current proposal, and that's a change of 4. The restaurant space, there's no change in 2019, a reduction of 759 feet under the current proposal. And then we get to general retail. 2019, we reduced by 4,900 square feet, and it's reduced further by another 13,178. No change. Actually, there were no, I don't think he even had a definition of quick service restaurant in 2017, and no childcare center. So these boxes are blank here. But what we're doing is adding 3138 square feet of new quick service restaurant, 11,276 of childcare. So net, the change in the square footage of the non-residential space is plus 477 square feet. And I hope this puts this into context in terms of intensity of use and the sizes of the spaces we're talking about. The first 2 lines on the lower part of this table just give you the Palmer's Market and the Bank Branch square footage. Neither one is changing. So when you add everything together, the non-commercial goes from 73,050 to 73,527. And there's your increase of 477. Now on the parking, the original approval was 399. It was reduced and you approved it in 2019. We're going now back to 406, which is a net increase of 29 spaces from the 2019 approval. And overall, it's a 7-space increase from the original proposal. So I hope this puts this project into context at this point.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second there. When we get into it in the traffic study,
Yes.
I did the math on the traffic study on the differential in square footage for the non-residential and got a different number. So
How much different?
my delta is 2,696 square feet. That's it's a 8.1384% increase.
In which category?
It's non-residential. Because your 73,000 square foot number should include the Wells Bank branch and the Palmer's grocery store, correct?
It should, yeah.
Yeah, the new square footage according to the traffic study for the commercial is like 28,000 feet, and it was is that right? Yeah, it was, I think 33. I think now it's 33,000 square feet. And it was 28,000 feet.
No, just the other way around.
It's the other way around.
Yeah, so that's
2017 approval was 33,127, and now it's 28 and change.
okay. Yep. And then I added the residential pieces. What's the difference in the residential?
Oh, and square footage,
Correct.
I'd have to, I think he mentioned that in the parking letter, but I'll have
Yeah,
to get.
it doesn't show up in the parking letter. Yeah. So that's what the difference is. You're right. That's what the difference is. It's because the
All right,
resident, we have to figure that out at some point in time.
All right.
Sorry to
The
interrupt. Sorry.
reason, just the reason I didn't put that in here is because parking is determined by bedroom counts and units and not necessarily square footage.
Sorry, man. I'm an appraiser. We
and-
square footage.
Except for the part of the building 2 that we're replacing, the total square footage for the rest of building 2 and all of building 1 is the same. That what happens is there's an adjustment between the units. Some of the 2 bedrooms are converted and split into 1 bedrooms, but the overall square footage is pretty much the same. But I'll get you those numbers.
Can I?
Thank you.
Go ahead. John is here. He wants to say something.
Yeah,
We got to tell him.
It's John Vaccaro. I think the answer that you're looking for is, Steve, is basically 80% of this project is really residential and 20% is retail. And I define retail as the 28,000. Now, also importantly, before there was ever any notion of a development here, it was 28,000 years ago. And it went as high as 33,000 in 2017, but it's back down to 28,000, which is always what was there in the past. So this project is primarily a residential project because of the 80-20.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now,
Okay.
somehow managed to, okay, here we are. All right, so I have some perspectives here.
Go back to that one last time for a second.
Sure.
Yeah, I got the 127. Oh, on the other year, we're up by a little bit. We'll figure that out. You got 20. You have 28,146. I got 28,623. We're splitting hairs. That's the
Okay,
that's the 400. That's the 477. Got it.
623. Yep. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Perspectives. Phil Cerrone is here. I thought I would kind of just flip through these slides quickly, and then Phil can jump in and talk about them some more. The first one is kind of an aerial perspective. And the areas that we're talking about changes are here, which is the garage with the apartments above and some amenity space. And down along in here, the building does not change from the outside. It's just going to be fitted up inside for the Goddard School. And then this part of the public plaza space that enters directly from Heights Road has changed. Initially, we had a wall across here with 2 sets of steps on either side. Now, as a result of comments from the ARB, we now have a kind of a curved stairway going up. Just another view of that. This is a view of the garage from down this space between building 1 on the left and the garage on the right. The parking garage is down at the southwest corner of it. The ramp goes up here, turns right into the 2nd level, and you can see the peaks of the roofs over here. This shaft on the corner is the elevator shaft, right? Or no, that's
Both.
it's both. It's elevator and staircase. This is a view from Heights Road. Another view from Heights Road. I mean, you can see these 2 are pretty much looking the same, except perhaps for the window mullions. This is a computer-generated perspective from the backyard of 295 West Avenue, looking south at the residential portion of the parking garage. And this is a view from Hollow Tree Ridge across the blighted property at 166 Hollow Tree Ridge Road toward the parking lot. And there is a parking lot building behind here. It's just completely blocked by the vegetation on the corner or on the property boundary. And we put this in here for, yes, general information. So do you want to, would you like to hear from Phil regarding some of the thought process here, Steve?
Yes, please. Yeah, I take it that's the top of the parking garage. That's the amenity space?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon. Good evening. This is Phil Surround. I'm the architect for this project. So, so we can start here if you want. As Bob said, really everything along Heights Road and Hollow Tree is essentially the same as it was before. Where we're proposing Goddard, we made some changes as far as locations of windows and doors, but otherwise, essentially the building is the same on those two corners. We opened up the plaza, as Bob had mentioned, in the middle, basically to make it more inviting. So as people are walking along the sidewalk there, we worked with ARB, and based on some of their comments, everybody agreed it was better to kind of get that whole thing open. What I'd really like to address is the parking structure, because I know a lot of people have comments and concerns about that. I think there's a few things to understand about the parking structure. And we worked really hard with the Palmers and the Vaccaros on this to try to get something that we think works well. And we do think it works really well. We think it fits in with the site. And I think a couple really important things to remember. Number one, it's built into the hill. So the back of it, the back is about 1.5 stories out of the ground. So that perspective that you saw looking at it from the West Avenue property, and we actually had drones and stuff, we couldn't actually go on their property, but it's a pretty realistic view of what you would see there, because the lower level of the parking is underground here, the first level. The second level is partially underground. We're concealing all the parking with a solid wall at the back of the parking lot and trees. So in essence, you can't see into the garage. It'll be virtually impossible. What you'll see is, and set back from the edge of the garage, is that 1-story structure that's on the top of the parking structure. So in essence, you're going to see anywhere between 1 and 1.5 stories of building. It's also important, I think, to remember that this is at the same elevation and the same height as the original building was, the 2017 proposal and the 2019. We always had this level here. We just had 2 levels of residential underneath it, or 1 level of residential and 1 level of commercial space. So we're not any higher, we're not any more massive than any of those. And by actually having the parking garage there, it eliminates any views of vehicles and dumpsters and transformers and all that were at the back of the property previously. Now you're going to basically have landscaping up to our garage there. On the other side, Bob, if you want to show one of the perspectives of the other side of the garage. On the other side.
Stay there one second. Stay there 1 second. Right, those trees that are in front of the parking garage, whose trees are those? Are those your new trees or somebody else's old trees?
Those will be our new trees.
Okay, then those windows, on the other side of those windows, are there cars there, or is that the internal amenity space with the fire pit?
No, those windows are in somebody's residential units. And then on the other side of the residential unit is where that amenity space is. That amenity space that you saw is completely surrounded by residential units.
Right, so those inside those windows, that's where the 3-bedroom apartments are?
Right, so this would be if on the left of this is that unit that you saw the other side of. So some of these are 3 bedrooms, and there's a couple 2 bedrooms, but that one there in particular is a 3-bedroom unit. So we have the units that are on top of the parking structure that surround this amenity space. So this is an internal amenity space.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The parking below this level.
Yeah, the parking is below this level.
Got it.
I thought I would just put this up, Phil, because this is it basically.
Yeah, so you can see, so on the bottom of that section, that's the cross section. You can see if you just slide it a little bit to the left, So we obviously didn't go up and measure the house, but that house is the house on West Avenue based on taking it off of Google Earth and GIS maps and everything else. And so where the dotted line is, that represents where the grade is. So you can see that the first floor of that residence on West Avenue is approximately at the same elevation as the floor of our residential units on the 3rd level. possibly even higher. And as you go a little bit more east, then it actually goes up higher, or more south, I'm sorry. But this gives you a good indication of where our building is in relation to the grade on West Avenue. And we have a fair amount of property between the retaining wall, which was always there. We need the retaining wall no matter what, but now we've built up to it. But we have plenty of property between the retaining wall and the property line of those residences to be able to do the landscaping that we want to do. And we also have a fence that's going along the property line there too.
Okay.
So then as far as the parking structure itself, we really did work up a lot of different renditions of this and really tried to make it look as little like a parking structure as we could. Candidly, it is a parking structure, right? So we tried to give it kind of the barn equestrian kind of look. We worked with a lot of different materials, working with my clients, working with ARB, and we came up with this, which I candidly think works pretty well. We've got a lot of positive reaction to. And actually, the right-hand opening on the parking structure here is actually public plaza space. So people will be able to walk through there. They can gather there. And then when you get a little bit further down where the barn doors are, that's where the cars would drive in and out. The other thing to note is that we've kept the facade of this along what we'll call the Village Way area as just a 2-story facade versus 3 stories. Although we have a 3rd level on the garage, the 3rd level is set back. So you can kind of see we have 2 stories, we have a roof line, and then we have some balcony space, and then the 3rd floor is actually set back. So it decreases the massiveness of it. At the far end, as Bob said before, is where our elevator and our stairs are, and then we have the drive that goes up to the, so there you can see the drive that goes up to the next level of the parking. And so this is just a view looking at the other way, but that where that first opening is where the car openings would be into the garage. So, I mean, other than really the parking structure, the rest of the aesthetics of the buildings has essentially stayed at the way it was. And we, you know, whatever we modified a little bit here or there to make some units work, we kept all the materials and everything the same as they were. And as you know, we got ARB approval. We got, actually, I thought, a very good reception from ARB. So I'm happy to answer any other questions or expand on anything if you want.
It did take 2 trips to the ARB, and this is the result of the ARB comments.
Okay, cool. If you could go back to one of those original, where you showed us the new public plaza for the curb stairs. Go back a couple more slides.
A couple more?
Yeah, go back a couple more. Keep going. No, it's the one with the grander. It shows the whole shoot, man.
Yeah. Oh,
Go
that?
back. Bingo. Yep. Okay. On that one, you can see the public plaza. You can see the grand stair. Okay, in the middle, and then the next going further south or to the left, that opening there. Bingo.
Right.
That is how you basically drive your car into the school and into the parking garage.
That's correct. That drive, that's the driveway that's always been there. That hasn't changed since 17. But yeah, that's the drive. That's an in and out driveway there, and you drive underneath part of the residential units. We have a driveway that goes in with 2 levels of residential above it that connect with those 2 sections of the building in the front.
Okay.
When you drive left would be the parking for Goddard, and straight ahead would be the parking structure.
Okay. What I want to understand is where's the front door to the Goddard school or the daycare center school? Where
I'll get you there.
off my kid.
Yeah, so you would drive through that opening and make a left. And the best way I can describe it, the front door would be as you make the, well, Bob can show you on this drawing. So you drive through that opening, you make the left, and the front door would be on that side over here. Right.
Front door is right over here.
Okay. So then after
Or the main entrance is really what we'll call it.
okay. So then just, if I don't know if this is the right point in your presentation when you're going to do it, tell me how people drop off kids at this proposed child care center.
Well, there's a whole process for Goddard that is going to be in the other PowerPoint when we get to it. But what happens is people drive in, they park, and most of the time they're going to end up parking in the garage or along these spaces here, or if there's spaces along here available, they park, turn the car off, walk with the child hand in hand to the main entrance, which is right here. And then that's a double-doored entry with security built in. They can get through the first door, and then they have to go through a security process to get through the next door. They check in electronically, and the parent or caregiver or guardian walks with the child to the child's classroom and drops the child off in the classroom, and then turns around and leaves and goes back to their car and whatever they're going to do after that. On pickups, it's pretty much the same thing in reverse. You pull in, you find a parking space, and you park the car, turn the car off, go in, go through the same check-in process, go to the classroom, pick up the child, and then go back out with the child to the car, and whatever you do after that. Pick up the child, put them in the car, go home, or take the child to a store, or whatever you would do after you leave the school. But that's basically the process. And just in terms of entrances and exits, this is the main entrance here. There's a fence around a play area here, and there's a doorway that leads from the school into the play area, but that somebody from the public wouldn't be able to go through the fence to get to this entrance here.
Okay.
So and then the rest of the doors are all emergency doors from the classrooms out.
And at the beginning, and I was with this a long time. At the beginning, you had an artist rendering of the corner, which way back when was supposed to be a Starbucks, and they got converted to a parking garage. Now it's back to a school.
Right.
That whole ground floor there is all Goddard School, right, in that building?
Correct.
Okay, now we're going to have 65 apartments inside this complex, and right down the street, I've got 122 apartments at Federal. So I live in Federal, and I want to walk down the street with my kids before going to your quick service restaurant, getting a cup of coffee, and jumping on the train. How do I do that? So it's a pedestrian that lives in Norotan Heights Commons, drops off their kid at school, then goes and gets a cup of coffee, and then jumps on the 7:31 train.
Okay.
How do I do that?
It depends on your preference, I guess. You walk with your child hand in hand, or you carry, or however you get there.
I got stroller.
So you can park, drive back to your railroad parking.
No. I don't have a car. I live inside Federal.
Okay. Then you
Because
would be
the
walking
beauty of this
over.
thing is you have 187 apartments that are within striking distance of this 11,000 square foot school.
Oh, if
But
you're
some of those
well,
apartments are going to have their kids attending here.
okay, so if you're in the same building, you would go down through an exit that's close to where the main entrance is to the school.
Right. I live
And
in
then
Federal.
drop the child off, go to your train.
Right.
If
So I live
you're in the other one, the other project, you would walk with your child to Goddard School and drop the child off and basically walk across the street to the train station.
He's asking how you would walk, how you would walk from the other development to this one, not if you just.
Right. Exactly. Kara's right.
You repeat the question without answering it.
I want to walk on the sidewalk from Federal, which is on the other side of Edgerton.
Over here.
Bingo. Walk all the way down the street, and then when do I turn into your project?
Sure, sidewalks. You could go across the plaza and through here. I mean, there's,
Okay.
there's a pedestrian route to get there.
That's what I'm asking for. I want you to explain it to me, or some traffic guy to explain it to me.
Get you something more formal, but I mean, just like if you lived in any of these houses up here, you'd walk down the street.
That's what I'm trying to get, that's what I'm getting at, Bob. Because it's the way, if I live on, my father-in-law lives on the corner of Leroy, of Holly Tree and West, right? So he's gonna walk to this thing and drop off his grandkid. How's he walking into the front door?
You would walk along the sidewalk, walk around.
Okay, so now go back to the site plan.
Sidewalk up here and then right to the main entrance.
Okay, so go back to the other plan, show me the sidewalk. Because we want people to walk here, not drive here.
Let me see where, hold on.
Or why don't you let the architect tell me?
This one?
Bingo.
Okay. Sidewalk?
So let the architect tell me, Bob, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead, Phil. Where's Phil?
Rob too.
Would we lose him? Rob Pryor, maybe you can anybody hear me?
Yeah,
Oh,
for the record, Rob Pryor with Land Tech.
okay.
I can probably explain it. So yes, if you were coming down where Bob's cursor is now, there's sidewalks along that street. There's sidewalks all along the frontage on Heights Road. And then there is a sidewalk adjacent to the road, to the driveway where Bob just traced next to the Goddard School building. So
Okay,
essentially, yeah, you'd have to walk sort of around the corner to get to the front door of Goddard, but from that direction, there's a continuous sidewalk, pedestrian access to that front door. If you were coming from the other project, likely you would come down the whatever existing sidewalks are on Heights Road, and then you would probably turn into the public plaza space, walk through the public plaza, and then cross the driveway, and then you're back to but there's sidewalks adjacent to all those buildings along that path. And then if you were coming from West Avenue.
time out for a second. Okay, I'm standing where that tree is. Put your cursor right back where you were.
Up here?
No.
I just walked across the public plaza.
Oh, here.
One more over. Okay, go to the next. Bingo, that tree. I'm standing with my kid in the tree, and there's cars coming up that driveway. Right, there's a guy that's coming, making a left into it. How much queuing space do I have up that driveway?
This conference will now be recorded.
I don't know exactly what that dimension. I don't know off the top of my head what that dimension is.
Okay, you got to get that.
Okay.
Because how many kids can fit in this school?
150. 152.
Roughly 150.
Okay, how many of those kids are going to be dropped off in cars?
Depends on who's enrolled and where they live. Don't know that yet.
Well, give me a percentage, 30%, 20%,
We'll have to,
50%?
it's hard to tell because each of the Goddard schools is in a different location and not all of them are in a pedestrian friendly environment like this or an easily pedestrian accessible site like this.
Maybe Neil could explain based on how he fit when we did the traffic study, how we amortize that as far as if he assumed that all kids would be dropped off by parents or how he assumed that was going to happen.
No, I assumed that my first kid lives over at Federal and walked down the street and walked up to Grand Plaza, then stopped at that tree. The other kid lives at 49 Echo Drive North, makes a left and a left. And now there's a choke point right there.
So I guess, Mr. Chairman, the concern is that there would be a line of children crossing there that would stop vehicles from entering the plaza.
Bingo.
Okay. Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you're saying. I think, you know, what you'll find as they go through the Goddard presentation, what I understand is that this, you know, it's not that the kids all get there at one time. It's sort of a rolling admission in the mornings, but I'll let people that know more about it than me speak to it.
When you speak like choke points,
I get it, but you have to design for it. You're the design guy.
It's a rolling drop-off times and rolling pickup times.
I get you 100%, but I still need to know how many cars can fit on that driveway.
We'll figure that out.
Steve,
Yep,
it's Jim. Can I just complicate things just a little bit further?
of course you can.
Bob traced the entry, you know, along Heights Road and then up the sidewalk to the right of the building and then into the door, and the cars parking in the two, you know, there's 4 or 5 spaces here, and there's 6, 8, 10, whatever it is, spaces here. How do the cars get out?
You back out and drive out.
Drive
ones
out
that-
where? Please.
Garage, the ones that go in the garage, park in a marked space, back up and drive out. They can either go out this way or out this way or out here. And I mean, there's a couple of different ways they can go.
Right, it's a good question. See where it says 6 spaces? See where the 6 is, Bob?
Here?
No,
Here's the
playground.
there's a number right there. When that guy leaves his parking space, how does he go out? He's not gonna go up the ramp into the garage, right?
Go up the ramp, he'll back out and go out, most likely go out this driveway.
I think it would make sense for you to go to Dunkin' Donuts at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, because that's about as much space as they have for parking, and it's a zoo.
or Starbucks, complete sale.
Well, Starbucks is that way too, but neither one of them has a big parking lot.
That the cars still have to get out of the parking lot or the parking garage at rush hour times
Right.
or any time. So
Right.
when you,
With increased pedestrians, there'll be more children holding hands with parents at this location than there are at Starbucks.
Yeah, we're, I mean, but yeah, we're peppering with questions out, and I didn't mean to get you off target, Bob, but these are questions that we're gonna have to figure out.
Yeah. All right.
Ken wanted to know if he could chime in.
Ken Bodenstein is here. He may be able to shed some light on it. Did you have any thoughts on this, Mr. Bodenstein?
Yeah, and I didn't know when was the appropriate time for me to speak up or not speak up.
Just say your name, Mr.
Just
Say
have to
your
tell
name.
everybody your name.
Hold on. Say your name and affiliation for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Ken Bodenstein, and my wife and I, my wife Kristen and I, are the co-owners of the Goddard School that already is in existence in Westport, Connecticut. And we will be the owners of the Goddard School here in Darien. Will be our second school.
Fantastic. The one in Westport's cool.
Thank you. Thank you. My wife's actually putting my 7-year-old son to bed, but she was the brainchild. If you've been inside of it, the design inside has her fingerprints all over it. She did a great job.
So I know the landlord, and I've been to the outside. I haven't taken a tour, but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so can you describe how that works with the rolling drop off and pickup times?
Yes, just 1 second, please. I just need to close the door. So, there are a couple things you have to realize. So the number of children, the maximum number of children we will be able to have in this location is 152. And that is basically determined by the state of Connecticut. Childcare is a heavily regulated industry. We are regulated at the state level by the OECC, which is the Office of Early Childhood Education. And that is run by a state commissioner named Beth Bai. There are very heavy regulations in terms of how many staff we need to have per child. The ratio for children under the age of 3 is 4 to 1, one staff member for every 4 children. And for ages 3 and 4, or 3 to 5, it is 10 to 1. So we will be allowed to have 152 kids, which is basically 8 children in every single one of our infant and toddler rooms, and 20 children in each one of our 4 preschool rooms. Of the 152 kids that will be in there when we are full, you have to remember that's probably only about 100 drop-offs. And what I mean by that is there's going to be a lot of siblings in there. So because we have children as young as 6 weeks, and we have probably more like 3 months, but we can take them as young as 6 weeks. But because we have infants all the way up to basically the day they start kindergarten, that's a 5-year span. So we're going to have a lot of parents that are going to be bringing 2 children at once, in some cases maybe even as many as 3. So the total number of actual, what I would call, whether it's car trips coming in, or whether it's parents walking in with a stroller, is really going to be closer to about 100, not 150. So it's really about 100. Now in the morning, the drop-off starts as early as 7 a.m. Generally speaking, it doesn't run much past 9, although there will be kids that come in as late as 9:15, 9:30. And it is staggered. And most people are in and out in no more than 5 to 10 minutes. So, I mean, at any given point in time, let's just say everyone did come via car. You're talking about 100 car trips at most, in and out on any given day, over the span of 2 hours or 120 minutes. So that is an average of, 1 per minute coming in and out. And at any given time, maybe you've got 4 to, 6 to 8 cars parked somewhere doing a pickup or a drop off. So that's a very, very different experience than, say, an elementary school, or a middle school. I happen to have an elementary school child. I have a middle school child. Both of my kids, by the way, went to childcare in the town we live in, which is Old Greenwich. And I'm very familiar as an owner of a Goddard school, and also as a parent, having done pickup and drop off for 10 years at a childcare center in Riverside, Connecticut. Well, Riverside being a section of Greenwich, basically. The pickup and drop off experience is very different. It's not like, my son's elementary school where you have 500 children coming in. And granted, there's a lot of siblings there, but you probably have, call it 300 cars showing up between 8:30 and 8:45. So 300 cars coming in the span of 15 minutes. We're talking 100 cars coming in the span of 2 hours. So it's a very, very different pickup and drop off experience. And typically what will happen is, parents will pull up, they will see the 6 spaces that are right in front. Those spaces are going to be reserved just for pickup and drop off. So, those spaces are not going to be occupied by us or teachers or anybody on a permanent basis. There will be, signs that say reserved for Goddard School pickup and drop off only. Parents will pull up, they will get out of the car, they will take the child, they will bring the child in. Our security system, as Bob mentioned, is a 2-door security system. The first door is a door that, we lock with a key that in the morning will be unlocked. Parents will open that door and walk into basically a vestibule area. There is a second door they need to get through to get into our actual school. In order to get through that second door, there's going to be an iris scanner. And when parents are enrolled, that iris scanner will take a picture of their eyeball. It's the exact same technology. If any of you have used Clear at the airport, it is the exact same technology that Clear uses when it takes a picture of your iris. A picture of the iris will be taken, they will be recognized, The door will be unlocked. They will open the door will automatically close behind them. They will bring the child directly into their classroom. The teachers will be in the classroom waiting for them. The parent will come in, drop off the child, walk out, get in their car, and leave. And typically, I can say this as a parent, you're in and out in between 5 and 10 minutes. And also, in that vestibule, there will be 2 offices with windows that face into that vestibule, and we will have our director and our on-site owner who will be looking into, and who will be, through a glass window, will be looking into that vestibule, seeing who's coming in and out at any given time. And they have a button in there that they can manually unlock the door to let somebody in. They also will have a panic button in there in case, in case there's anybody in there that shouldn't be in there. That panic button will go straight to the police department, or at least, that's what we have in Westport. So.
Did that answer your question, Mr. Chairman? I think you're muted, Steve.
Sorry about that. Yes, it answers questions, but it brings up other ones. But before I get too deep into what I'm thinking at the current time, you said you had 45 slides. Is there more to go behind this, or is there a lot more?
Well, it depends on how much time you want to spend on each one. I have several, yes.
Okay. Well, let me ask.
I don't need to stop at every one.
Right, I understand. Let me ask you this question first. It is a little bit of a thrust. Where's the front entrance to the apartment building in that building?
The front.
It's on the, as Bill looks up on. It's right there.
It's right there. Right here?
That's right there on that corner.
Next, it's in the general area of the main entrance to the school.
But they can also.
But they're separate. They're not combined.
They can also go over the Skyway. They can go to the Skyway and then on the other side as well.
They can, over here.
Yeah.
They can also enter through the right side of this building and then go over the bridge to get to their units.
Yeah, but my apartment's on the corner overlooking Patton Drive. So I'm not going
here.
Yeah, I live over there.
Okay.
Right, so I'm coming in and out the same entrance as the kids, or next door to the same?
No, you can't do that. Has to be completely separate entrance.
But the 2 front doors are next to each other, right?
They're close. They're not like right. You can't open one and get into the other space. They're separated.
Right. It's like CVS, and it's like Walgreens and it's like the old Walgreens and the old Stop and Shop, where they're basically in the same building, but they're next to each other.
Don't know. I haven't been over there.
No, the old one, the one they tore down.
I don't live in the corner of the building that opens up or overlooks Patton Drive either, so I'm not sure. But what you do is come down the hall.
Yeah, how many apartments are in that building?
Is there an entrance over here?
Not for the apartments.
How many apartments are in what?
In that building?
Left side of building 1?
Is thrown up?
If you, Phil, I thought I saw Phil come back.
Or Eric?
Or Eric. Where are you guys?
There's 4.
Where's Eric? Phil. Oh, there's Phil. Phil, can you answer that question?
If somebody knows, you can give us the apartment counts in each of the 4 buildings or 5 buildings. Because there's 65 total, right?
65 total.
So how many are on top of the parking garage? 4?
There's 7 on top of the parking garage.
7 on top of the parking garage, 4 and 3.
Okay. Then the building to the right of the parking garage, how many are in that one?
Here.
Yep.
Give me a second, I'll get it.
Hold on.
Right, I mean, that can be homework. You can keep moving on, but what I'm trying to figure out is inside the Goddard School, I got 152 kids on the ground floor, and I'm trying to figure out how many kids are on the upper floor. And then if the guy
How
does
many
hit the
kids
panic,
or how many apartments?
There's 20, this is Eric Murray with Phil Cerrone's office. There's 28 in the building A, which is along Heights Road.
which is which one? You got 3 along Heights Road.
Building A1B and 1B. It's the second and third floor.
So in the biggest building on Heights Road on the corner, you got 28 units?
Wait,
Just on the
1A
1A
is
has,
against hollow tree.
Hold on.
1A is against hollow tree.
1A is here.
right,
Yeah.
that has 18 units right there.
18.
And there's a unit over the bridge. And then
Unit
there's
over the bridge?
there's a unit over the bridge, correct? And then there's 8 units on the right, which is 1B.
Okay.
If you look at the renderings, you see that the bridge is there with the units over it.
And how many in the next one? What's that, 1E? It's 2E?
Over here,
2E, that one's all connected with the building in back.
this is all connected, yep.
How many?
How many in that one?
There's 15 per floor, so there's 30 there.
Okay, then the one behind
Between
it?
the two.
And then up on the garage, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And 7.
7, there
There's 7.
should be 7
Sorry,
over the
7.
garage.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, how many get in 1B? I missed it. How many are in 1B?
1B has 8.
8?
And then there's a connector, which has 1 unit
And then
over it.
15 per floor over on 2E, which is 30.
Yeah, you're missing one someplace.
And then 7 over the garage.
There's 2 on the connector.
Oh,
2
2,
on the
not
connector.
1. 2, okay,
Correct.
that's the wrong one. All right.
2 over here.
No, the other connector, Bob.
The other
Between
connector,
1A
there's
and
2.
1B. Yeah.
You know what, for the next session, we'll give you the whole thing broken down, so.
Cool, thank you. I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
No, that's okay. No, I mean, it's a fair question, and we'll get it to you in an organized written answer.
Okay.
All right, because otherwise, you try to do it on the fly. And
Yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry.
then the other thing I'd mention is, it wouldn't take much to put a crosswalk over here, and if the traffic folks say a stop sign is warranted here, then we could do that too.
Well, are you going before the traffic commission?
Oh, it's
No,
internal.
this is public. This is not a public street, so I'm talking about it in.
So then you,
Okay.
I guess the question for the commission is, did it want this peer reviewed by Mike Galante is the question.
Yeah, we definitely want a peer review.
Oh, yeah, right.
So,
All right.
so we're gonna bring Mike Galante of Hardesty and Hanover in on this to resolve some of these outstanding questions and issues, and we'll try to get him on board and get the materials out to him. So he did peer review the original proposal design, and this way he's already familiar with the project.
Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward for him.
Okay.
And I know I pretty much expected that, and I think the staff's already working on contacting Mike. Maybe we can go to landscaping because the slide is up.
Yeah,
And
just
rather
let me just, before we go on to the next major topic, let's just go around the horn and see if any commissioners have any questions, if you don't mind. Carrie, you spoke once. Jeff Ball, you want to chime in at this point, sir?
With the structure with the wavy lines that's past the.
A little bit louder, Jeff. Jeff, move your microphone down.
Sorry,
There you go.
was doing other things. So I see the parking spaces here, and then to the right, when you pull in on the street that they're yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can you drive all the way through to the other side and pull out the other side?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's 2-way.
Is that's a bridge over the center parking park, right? Where those
Yeah.
angled slots are?
Yes,
And is that one way?
yes.
No, it's not. No.
Uh,
It's
Rob,
2-way.
prior. Can you walk them through that part of this?
Yeah, angled parking's got to be one way, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's one way going out
One way
to the
east.
to the right.
Can you make it two-way? I'm just looking for other ways of in and out. I mean, you've got, for this school, you've got one way in and one way out. And at the height of cars leaving or entering, I just feel like it's going to be a full bottleneck of cars and kids and parents trying to get into cars, out of cars, back into cars to leave again.
If you're in the garage, you can drive out through the back of the garage.
Yeah, exactly. I think that cars could also enter from the central driveway.
You can
Then
come
go
in
into
here,
the garage.
Okay.
go into the garage,
There's an
park.
opening into the garage. They would park there, and then they could leave the garage is set up so that they could leave the way they came in, or they could leave in either of the other two entrances and then drive out multiple directions. We tried to make the garage so that you could drive, that it didn't impede any types of circulation on the site.
Yeah, this is Neil Linsky, if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I think that's a key point to make. I'm not sure if anybody can hear me or not, but
No, we got you.
there's multiple points and routes within the site, and to get to the parking, say for the Goddard School, I think there's at least 2 ways to get there, and at least 3 ways to get out of that parking area.
Sure.
Not only in front of the Goddard School, but underneath the first level of the parking garage, as you're seeing on the screen.
This is right.
So, if there is ever a backup at that one driveway that we were focusing on earlier, people are going to see that right away and decide, hey, I might not take that driveway to get out this time. I'm going to go up and around to Edgerton Road or whatever the case may be. So that's key. That's absolutely key. Different routing options.
Will there be a traffic person directing them or some sort of signage or way? Because I mean, having dropped off children at daycare and dropped off kids and still dropping off kids at schools, if there's dedicated spots, my experience has been, and you might have seen this yourself at a Costco or somewhere, cars wait and block everyone else for the person they believe will be removing themselves from the closest spot, especially if they're walking with small children, because small children in a parking lot is an incredibly stressful situation for a parent, especially if they're juggling multiple things in their hands. So you're going to try to get into the closest spot so that you're mitigating the chances of your child, wrestling free from you, or the length of time you're carrying a heavy car seat with multiple bags. So you're going to wait for those closest dedicated 6 spots, especially if it's a short turnaround time, like the potential owner of the Goddard School said, right? It's 5 to 10 minutes. So if you think someone's coming out, you're going to wait. You're not, I don't think it's likely, unless they're being directed by somebody to go into the parking garage, that people are going to go into the parking garage, because that substantially, right, increases the amount of time that they will potentially be there. And if they're trying to catch a train, they want to mitigate the time.
Well, I can only tell you, I can tell you, at least from my experience, I have a 6-year-old who's just in a pre-K. There's a mix of drivers out there. There may be the occasional person who tries to wait, but I think more likely than not, if they see the 6 spots are full, they're just going to take a quick right and park right over there, which is only an extra couple seconds to get up there.
Will there be dedicated spots in that parking garage?
I don't know if we've worked out the signage within the site, but I think that's going to be a key component of it, to get more than just 6 dedicated parking spots
in there. If there's no dedicated spots in the parking garage,
right, and it'll be parent educate. The Goddard School is gonna, they're gonna send out newsletters, especially to new parents, instructing them where to park. Things like that. We could, I think, as Bob mentioned earlier, we could stripe some more crosswalks within the site too. I think that's
crosswalks are going to solve the parking issue.
Yeah, no,
Well, I
we'll-
don't think the parking is an issue because we have a lot of parking. It's just a matter of dedicating more of the parking spaces underneath the first level of the parking garage to the Goddard School.
That would-
It is a matter,
Parking
it
is
is-
there because the Goddard School is only open from 7 to, I don't know, it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, because Ken gets
Limited park.
elaborate on it more.
limited parking.
Later in the
Did
evening, those spaces could be used by a restaurant or something in the mix, so.
it is a matter of
We're all
training
on
the
the same
parents.
page. We can work this out. This seems like a doable thing. So I'm
yeah,
gonna shut
no,
it down.
let's try to stay on topic. I'm just trying to, Jeff, did you get your questions answered?
I'm good for now. I still think that there's, plenty of things to address. So
Okay, that's fine.
I'm
No,
good. I'm good. Yep, got it for now.
we're just scratching the surface. George Riley, anything to add at this question at this point?
Just a couple of things I guess I'll throw out. I was looking in terms of the entry between the apartments and the Goddard School. This is the I don't know which map this is, but it shows pretty good distance between the two. So I'm reassured by that. I thought that was a good question, but I'm reassured by the floor plan of the Goddard School. And also looking at Land Tech's C-1.0 about the site plan, I do see marked a number of crosswalks, which I think is prudent, and I'm glad to see that. My bottom line, though, from when I first saw this, I haven't gotten over yet, is I don't like perpendicular parking around these spots. Not that driving in's a problem, but backing out is a concern to me. I wish there was a way we could just go, along the curb and stop, open the door, make the transfer, and then pull out without having to back up. But I don't know the resolution to that one, but that's what's in my head. Thanks.
Yeah, we can get Galante to chime in on stuff like that. Where is Mr. Rand, the senior Mr. Rand with a bunch of grandkids?
Yeah, although not young enough to need daycare anymore, unfortunately. I'm trying to look at this from a distance between the consideration of the original plan and the consideration of federal, which one followed pretty closely to the others, I recall. We looked at traffic along Heights Road, and as I recall, our assumption with regard to this development was, well, let me put it a different way. We've since reallocated the space to some extent, and we've added 100 cars over 2 hours. I think that's what was said. Are we safe in assuming that the assumptions we made with regard to, or when we considered the federated plan, are still valid, or is this 50 cars an hour in and 50 cars an hour out, which is in total 400 cars a day? Does that upset the assumptions we made before? Is this thing going to work once it's all put together? And when I say this thing, I'm talking about federated on the one hand and Palmer's on the other.
We've got the traffic study from the applicant here, which is SLR, which is new, which introduces the Goddard School. When that presenter presents, we can ask them if they laid in the other one.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know Bob still has more stuff to do.
Okay, I'm happy.
Thank you.
If I could just make one.
Hold on. Did I miss any commissioner at this point? I think I got everybody. Carrie spoke.
Yep,
Jim, I got everybody. Okay, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
Just to follow up on Commissioner Rand, this site always had 28,000 square feet of retail. So, you know, we're going back to that. So that covers the retail part of it. The school is an addition for sure. But, you know, the drop-offs are going to start at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is not your typical retail hours. So you're not going to have a cumulative effect with retail the way you might expect. But in any event, we'll take a look at that. And I'm sure we'll have a conversation with Mike Galante about it as well.
Yeah.
So duly noted, and we'll have something for you next time.
Yeah, your peak hours and your traffic studies moved.
Yeah, that we'll clarify all that and work through it with Mike. Okay.
All right. Bob, this is what I want to do. If you could go on for another, maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes of your presentation, then I'd like to open up for the initial spot for public comment. I don't know if you got through your entire deck, but I want to get a little bit of public comment, and I don't know where your traffic study guys were, but Bob is.
I'm almost there. Actually, enough questions have been raised about the traffic that I think it's probably more efficient for our traffic consultant to speak directly with Mike Galante, or at least look at Mike's written report and work through questions, and then we'll address the questions that were asked tonight as well.
So you want to push traffic to another night?
Well, we're going to end up revisiting it on another night, but I thought I would just show you this slide just to give you an idea of the turning movements and all through the site, just to kind of give you a visual picture of it. But we'll come back and address the parking and traffic issues next time. I think it would be more efficient to do it that way.
That's fine. The only thing I want to overlay is, and like I said earlier to the gentleman that owns the Goddard School up in Westport, I've been to that Goddard School at Westport. I've also been to the one in Wilton. The difference between those two and this two is the apartment aspect. In this school, within walking distance, you've got 122 plus 65, you got 187 apartments. At the Westport one, there's no apartments anywhere remotely close to it. And at the one in Westport and one in Wilton, there's no apartment buildings remotely close. So we got to figure out that.
Okay.
Okay.
Matt Pop, you were with us?
I am. Matthew Pop, landscape architect from Environmental Land Solutions.
About the landscaping?
Just go over it very briefly. The main change, I think, was that center stairwell into the plaza, and we had two staircases before. Now we have one central one. That makes it, I think, nicer for outdoor eating. If there's two restaurants on either side of the plaza, they could have seats outside without interfering with people walking by. And we had two crosswalks. If you go up, Bob, just a little bit, we had two crosswalks across that road. Now we just have one central one. And around the parking garage, I think one point that is important is to the back of that building. Originally, there was dumpsters back there and loading, and now we have the parking garage. So I kind of live next to a school where there's a dumpster, so it's loud. So I think this is a good for the neighbors to have the parking garage here, because it takes that dumpster and the kind of loading away from that area. Around the parking garage, we have pretty much the same screening of green giant arborvitaes and Norway spruce and American holly, kind of wraps right around the site, right around the garage. Site lighting is very similar to what we had before. We have it's all downlit. We have 10-foot high poles near the kind of the plaza areas, and when we get further away into the parking lot areas, we jump that up to a 14-foot height. It's a warm tone 3000 K. Bob, you can go back to the LP1. And over on the kind of the left side of the parking garage, there's a light fixture there, and that will be shielded so the light doesn't spill out to the neighbors. I don't think it does now. But again, we'll just make sure that that is shielded. Let's see what else. Again, we got the same shade trees wrapping throughout the site. One thing about the pictures of the plaza that we had before kind of had some red flowering trees. We do have red flowering trees, but those trees will be bigger than what was shown in the rendering. So I think that will aid in making the space more pedestrian scale. So that's it quickly. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Along the Heights Road frontage, starting at the beginning of the Palmer's parking lot, the other where the post office is, yep. You got a bunch of new trees there and whatnot.
Yes.
Go to the other side, Bob, next to the Epi computer place.
The other way.
The other
Here?
yeah. Because what I was alluding to earlier is if somebody lives in Federal, right, and they're walking down the sidewalk, they're going to cross over Edgerton, walk in front of the post office, then cross to in front of Wells Fargo, then bang left up the stairs. What kind of landscaping you're doing or modifications to that strip are we doing? I see 7 new trees in front of the bank branch, but that's really
yes, those are again new shade trees. I think they're about 30 to 35 feet on center, so they're fairly close. The trees there are located on the street, and the sidewalk is away from the curb, which is nice to walk away from that parked cars and the traffic. Again, you would just walk along that sidewalk and heading towards the plaza area, the central plaza area, and I would think that if I was walking with my child, I would walk up to the plaza. It's got a fountain, something to see, a focal point, and then kind of crossing over towards the Goddard School.
Right, me too. Yeah, but so in front of Wells Fargo, you're putting in new trees. Is that part of the plan?
Yes.
Is that sidewalk being replaced there too?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Thank you. Any commissioners have any questions for Matt Pop at this point? If you do, you can raise your hand. Nope, no one's saying no. All right, cool.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, I guess I have some site plan slides here. Maybe Rob can spend a couple of minutes talking about the site plan.
Yeah, but maybe I think we probably talked about the circulation and the site plan quite a bit. Maybe you could bring up the slide that has the stormwater improvements. We could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great. Is the impervious surface changing much from 2019 to 2021?
So the area that changes slightly, the only area that we gain, generally the parking garage itself is built within the footprint of the paved surfaces that were already approved. The area where we do gain a small amount of impervious coverage is the access ramp going up to the second floor of the parking, or the upper level parking within the parking garage, and that's where Bob's cursor is right now. Yep. So from a stormwater perspective, we obtained the approved stormwater model from Ty and Bond, and so we basically modified their model to represent the proposal that you have tonight. But in general, we're matching their outputs. I think I know that part of the concern previously was that this area there's some existing flooding that was trying to be alleviated. So the previous approval contemplated a reduction in runoff from the existing conditions of approximately 12.5 CFS. So that's actually a reduction. That's a delta. We're somewhere around 11.4 CFS reduction from the existing conditions. So This project will in fact also reduce or alleviate some existing flooding to the extent that it contributes to it. Stormwater detention is being handled in the same way, in that we're proposing underground detention systems. The underground detention systems that were within the footprint of where we're proposing the parking garage had to be relocated. So they're sort of between the, and they show up as the dark gray boxes in this drainage plan. But we did have to relocate them to an area that was outside of the building footprints. It's, you know, another benefit of the parking garage is that we have less surface parking now in the project. So from a stormwater quality standpoint, you know, the reduction in surface parking actually leads to an improvement in the quality of the stormwater runoff that comes from the site. But from strictly a comparison standpoint, this stormwater management plan is very similar and results in very similar reductions in stormwater runoff than did the 2019 plan.
Hey, so my little bit of a concern is the change between 19 and 2021. I mean, let's talk about the ramp for a second. This morning it rained, and right now it's probably raining outside. So the water hits the ramp and goes down the ramp, right? There's got to be some kind of catch basin at the bottom of that ramp to catch all that water.
There's a catch basin in the ramp, and then there's additional catch basins south, or I'm going to say, yeah, south of that, both on the other side of the underground detention systems and the driveway. So to capture any runoff that would be generated by that area.
Okay, I'm not going to comment on sizes, but that's what Joe Canis does.
Well, no, in this case, Holt McCord was the peer reviewer. Is that correct, Rob? That Holt McCord Engineering was the peer reviewer?
No, yes, Holt did it.
So he's going to do it again?
Yeah, we'll get them involved again to double check all the work. Drainage is an important issue. We want an outside consultant to look at that.
Yeah. So just Mr. Pryor, the water's coming down the ramp's not going to land up in Heights Road, right? It levels out at some point in time.
No, that'll all be collected before it can get out to Heights Road.
Because the Heights Road elevation's at the same exact elevation as the front door of the Goddard School and the apartment building, right?
Very close, yes. The Heights Road varies from a point that I think is about 2 feet below the finished floor of the Goddard School to a point where it's actually at or at where we get up toward Hollow Tree Ridge Road. It's actually at the same elevation or maybe slightly higher than the Goddard School finished floor.
Because we know that the Grand Plaza is higher than the road because there's a nice staircase that takes you up to the Grand Plaza.
Right, Heights Road slopes from west to east.
Agreed.
So it's higher at the Hollow Tree Ridge Road intersection than it is as you go to the east towards where the main central, the main plaza, public plaza is.
Right, agreed. Okay. Want to get deep into this? Any commissioners have any questions on this for Mr. Pryor, real quick? No, it's everything. We're good. Okay.
Steve, if I could just add something, Steve, Palmer's Market is here. Now I have to. Oh, here we go. Palmer's Market is here. Part of the original application was a drainage system under this parking lot behind Palmer's. And that was installed by February, I believe, by February of 2020. And prior to the application, there were some improvements made to the drainage in this parking lot, and that was discussed in the 2017 application process. So these two things are already in place.
Right, I
And
remember
they
that.
happen to be in the watershed that flows to the east, which was intended to alleviate some of the problem there. The watershed breaks right along in here, I believe, and Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but the rest of this watershed flows to the southwest. So this development
Yeah,
here
so what you'll see
not contribute to the
in our
flooding.
drainage study, we didn't consider the since the improvements that were proposed and approved for the Palmer's Market site have already been installed, we basically took that part out of the model because it's that work that was approved for that part of the site has already been done.
Right. Yeah, no, am I muted? Yeah, no, I got you. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that you're putting in a ramp that goes up to a parking deck and water's gonna go down the ramp, you know. And if it levels off, it levels off. Go ahead, Karen.
Didn't they start off the presentation, or maybe I understood things wrong, saying that that the Palmer's Market is a different lot?
It is.
Okay, but then when thinking about stormwater management and this ramp and elevation to an area that already floods, they said, well, we're going to use a system put on another lot.
No. This, what happened was we were going through the process, and flooding on Heights Road historically has been a big issue. And the Palmers was part of the redevelopment of the area to basically the western part of this, agreed to install drainage over behind the market.
Because the area, regardless of development, was already having flooding issues, right?
Right, and it had nothing to do with the proposed development of the western part of this area. It was just done as let's be a good neighbor and see if we can help contribute to a solution here.
They just did it out of the goodness of their hearts to solve a Heights Road problem?
Well, pretty much. I mean, you know, everybody knows there's been a Heights Road flooding problem, and I think some other things have been done since then as well that are completely off the Palmer's property. But I just wanted to mention that it was done to be a good neighbor and address some of the flooding that everybody has been trying to deal with for years.
Agreed.
And they did that. They installed it already, and Rob's right. I mean, it's already up and running, and it doesn't belong in the analysis for what we're doing now.
But will separate stormwater management considerations be done for this plan?
Yes. Yeah, the original plan was sufficient.
The new plan.
The new plan is just a couple of modifications, but it's similar amount of storage and similar in terms of
above ground parking
ability to manage it, so we don't have flow off site.
So they don't think the ramp, that there'll be no additional runoff from the above ground.
It's being directed into the system.
Yeah, that's the catch
basin here.
Yeah.
And there are other catch basins, you know, along in here that Rob can point them out more specifically, but the whole idea is to direct this water that comes down the ramp into the system, so it doesn't make its way out to Heights Road. I'm not sure if there's a more technical way to say that. Rob, do you?
No, that sounds good.
Hey, Bob, let's move on to something else, because I want to get to the public by 10 o'clock. There's a lot of people on the screen.
All right, let me, okay.
We can sit here and talk about stormwater management for a while, but we still need the peer review guy to look at it.
Okay, all right, so I have this here. You can take a look at it when at your leisure. Parking and traffic and parking we're going to deal with. I have a calculation of the inclusionary zoning units. You'll get 10, and 0.08 would be a fee in lieu of a partial unit. So you're getting 10 inclusionary. And then I just put the Cunningham table at the end to kind of bring us back to
what we're really doing here in terms of increases and decreases in square footages and apartment units, bedrooms and things.
Well, we love the
So
kind of.
that's what I have on the Norotan Heights Shopping Center. And what I thought I would do is start off next time with the Goddard PowerPoint, unless you want me to finish up on open issues for Norotan Heights, but
No,
I've done pretty much everything I can think of for tonight at least. And we
Okay.
have some.
Let me just ask you one little quick threshold question about the below market rate units. Is one of the 3 bedrooms going to be below market rate?
No.
Okay, and that's in accordance with whatever the state regulations are?
Well, this is under the inclusionary zoning regulations and not 830G, so it's.
I understand. I heard the guys from federal saying that they're making it even Steven based on ratios, but okay. Are you good for now so I can open up to the public?
I'm good for now. I'm good for now. Thank you.
Fantastic. I'd like to open this up to the general public to speak to this application, but I would also like to I think Jamie Stevenson might be in the meeting. There she is. She's an ex officio member of the P&Z Commission. So if you don't mind, Jamie, can I ask you to go first, please?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will be very brief. I want to first and foremost express my tremendous support for this project. And I'm really happy to see the Palmers have a new partner in the Vaqueros to get this done. I know Mr. Maslin stated that in his timeline chart, planning goes back to 2017, but as I was cleaning out my files today, I actually have some early papers from 2015 on this project. So it's a long time in coming, and it's going to be a tremendous improvement to the Norotan Heights Commercial District. I'm very excited about the 4 3-bedroom family housing units. I think that provides a small amount of a really nice, new, different kind of housing choice for us here in town. And I really love the public plaza space. Following on the conversation about drainage, I am concerned about impervious surface and look forward to seeing how the drainage and landscaping plans flush out to make sure that there are no negative impacts to an already very sensitive area. I'll take just a moment to say how excited I am also about the prospect of the Goddard School coming here. You know, being a town with the average age of about 38 years, we are a young families town, and we've been talking for years, Steve and Jeremy remember this, of course, that there's been a gap in service here in Darien, and that is childcare for working families. A recent statistic that I had heard, and it could be more since it's probably about 2 years old, is that at least 40% of our households have 2 working parents. So to have a new childcare service for families in town, I think is going to be a fantastic selling point for our community. I'm really excited about that. Goddard has a very fine reputation from all the people that I've spoken to up in Westport and other towns that are lucky enough to have Goddard schools. I know you have some things to work out. I paid close attention to what you were saying about pedestrians and parents walking children into the Goddard school, and I look forward to agreeable solutions to that. That is a really important issue. But I just want to lend my support and hope that the Planning and Zoning Commission can get to a place of yes, hopefully before the end of this calendar year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jamie. And the other thing I would say about the Goddard School is you know, we need to build more classrooms in town. If Goddard School wants to build classroom forms, or Montessori School wants to build classrooms, that means the town doesn't have to. Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate that. Would anybody else in the general public like to speak to this application? If you do, turn your microphone on, maybe turn your camera on if you have a camera, and then announce your name, affiliation, and address would be great. Do we have any list at all, Jeremy, at all?
We don't have a list.
Okay. We did receive 4 letters or emails today. Recognize those. But if it is 10:05, so we'll have the first couple of people speak, and then we'll talk about the letters that we already got in the mail. So anybody want to go first?
Stephanie Pendray.
Is there Mr. RP? Your light is on. Go ahead, sir. Introduce yourself, or ma'am.
We have Stephanie Pendray. Daryl Williams.
This is Chinkara Gidry. I can go if there's an opportunity.
Go ahead. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here. I grew up in town, so I've lived here my whole life, along with my family. And we've lived on 287 West Avenue, which borders the Palmer's property, for 7 years. We have a son that went to a Goddard school, and we have young children. We're also trained commuters, or used to be. And we're very familiar with the traffic patterns and the rush hour traffic patterns. My husband and I are quite concerned with the amount of traffic that's already here, especially at the corner of Heights and Hollow Tree. It often backs up from Heights to West Avenue during those times. And I'm wondering if this traffic study that was done, what year it was done, and if it took into account the federal apartments addition, as well as the proposal of these new apartments and the school.
Okay.
Next up.
We're going to get the peer review done. I mean, it's the traffic report's dated 2021, but the statistics, some are old, some are new, but we're going to have another professional look at it. But thank you for your questions. Is there someone else who'd like to speak to this application?
Pendray is next.
Is there Stephanie Pendray? Oh, they put people's name in the chat box
Yep,
too?
Stephanie. Nope, but she's next. Her camera's on. She's ready to go.
Stephanie Pendray. Welcome. Say hi. Wave.
Good.
Is that her?
Yeah.
Is that her? Is that her in the corner right here?
Your microphone's not working.
Hey, Bob, you want to take down your questions thing so the people can get bigger? There you go. Thanks, buddy. Yep, I see Stephanie Pendray. Stephanie Pendray, your microphone says green, but we can't hear you. Okay. While Stephanie figures out her technical difficulties, is there another person that would like to speak to this?
Caller 14.
We have a person named Caller 14. Your microphone is on. When are we going to get back to live? Well, okay. Well, we're trying to figure that out. I'm just going to introduce into the record, not read into the record. I've got 1, 2, 3. I have four letters in my hand. One is from a Heather Walsh at 31 Ridgely Road.
Yep.
She's concerned about pedestrian friendly. We have 37 Ridgely Road, which is Marissa Rocker and Matthew Muzzer.
Yes.
They are concerned about the Goddard School and pick up a drop off. And the next one we have is Tracy McEwen, who lives where's Tracy live? I don't think Tracy didn't tell us where she lived, but we'll get her address. She's worried about traffic too, so we something just said. And then we have another one from Georgia Solomon that lives at 40 Ridgely Road. That's concerned about the traffic issues relative to a school. That's what those are the 4 I have.
Yep.
Is that it, you think?
That's it.
Okay.
Let's see if there's anyone else who wants to speak Turn on your camera.
Stephanie Pendry said, I cannot get my microphone to speak. All right. Just for the record, everybody, this is the first time in this application. We're definitely going to have another night. It may leak into a third night.
Yep.
I don't know. But our next is going to be when, do we think?
The continuation of this public hearing will be Tuesday, November 16th at 7:30 p.m. Again, via GoToMeeting. So that's Tuesday, November 16th, 7:30 p.m. GoToMeeting. So if anyone wants to send a letter or email or between now and then, we'll get that out to the commission, put the copy in the file. So if you have trouble with your microphone tonight, please do send a letter or email and we'll get your input and feedback for the record.
Okay. And Tracy lives on Hilton, which is a street there.
Great.
That's fine. Okay, so again, Jeremy said that, just so you hear, it's Tuesday, November 16th, you said, right?
Yes.
Thank you. At 7:30 p.m. Okay, so that's our public comment for this point in time. Bob, you want to add something else tonight before we adjourn this hearing? Or any commissioners want to add anything else? Jim Rand, you okay? Your lights on?
I'm okay. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was still on.
That's okay. You're allowed to.
I'll turn it off.
George Riley, you okay for now or no?
Just curious, on a somewhat more global basis, I know that Bob started his presentation saying that these childcare facilities are permitted in at least one or two other zones, special permit or whatever else. So we're dealing now with a specific request for the NH, the Norotan Heights zone. I wonder if this is an opportunity to consider other zones where this would be appropriate, the service business zone or some other zone, so we don't spot zone this kind of thing. I just leave that out there, let Jeremy in particular and Fred think about that. And
that's what we came up
with. I get it. Just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, right now it is in the designed office zone. It's not in the designed commercial zone. But I think a child care center, the only where it's allowed today is inside office zone. The difference is municipal uses, which are all of our regular schools, are in residential zones, but a municipal use is allowed anywhere. And then a school that's inside, like a Norotan Presbyterian, that's a special use within.
Those are daycare, right?
Those are daycare centers.
Like the YMCA, things like that, churches, congregational church.
Okay. No,
Okay.
those guys are looking at too.
Of where we could do it, and I just kind of have a little aversion to this kind of spot zone for NH, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Carrie, you good for now? Yep. Stephanie Pendry, is your microphone working yet? Nope. If you're saying your ABCs, I'd be able to hear you, but I can't. And then Jeff Ball, you anything else to add tonight? You're good? I think I got everybody, right? Okay.
Okay.
So, Bob, where we
Yes,
go
sir.
from here?
Well, we got our homework. We haven't really talked about much of Goddard other than what Mr. Bodenstein said, and that was kind of an overview. As far as George Riley and spot zoning, I think this is not even close to spot zoning because it's a single zone and we're just adding a use to it. It's probably not a bad idea to think about adding childcare centers to other zones in town. You certainly can do that as a commission initiative rather than try to change our application. But it's a fair point, and I think all of the data regarding Darien and the demographics seems to point in that direction. I'm not quite sure why this type of use is allowed in a residential zone as an accessory use by special permit. That would mean somebody would have to live, I think, in a house and then have a fairly significant childcare center. But that's for another day.
Great.
So next time.
I will just acknowledge that spot zoning is a term of art. I should not have used it. It was just a.
No, I fully
You're
understand what you mean. I knew what you meant. Okay, so we have our homework.
Massive, that's get defensive when you bring up the word spot zoning.
If anyone has any other questions or concerns, send them to the staff, and I'm sure Jeremy and Fred will pass them along to us. We will work with the traffic, and I guess if Hope McCord is going to take a look at the drainage, fine. The sooner the better, so we can finish up on this. And we thank the first selectman for her support in this application. And yes, this new development concept in Norotan Heights is not so new anymore. We've been working at it for many years. Tom Golden, it was his brainchild probably a good 15 or 20 years ago, and it's finally working its way through. And we hope at the end of all this, you'll approve this, and we'll do the best we can to work out your concerns on traffic, and particularly the public concerns on traffic. Thanks very much.
Before we check off, can I set you two, I think I call them easy questions for the question of the general public relative to a quick serve restaurant and a restaurant that's on your traffic study. My understanding of a quick serve restaurant is really like a donut shop or a coffee shop. Is that what you guys were thinking?
That's
and the restaurant is more like bringing back
anything that meets the definition, but yeah, that's generally the concept.
Okay, and then a restaurant that might be bringing back what was it, Jimmy Seaside or Jimmy Southside, something like that.
Well, you have quick services where a restaurant that happens to serve liquor is a restaurant. A bar that happens to serve sandwiches is a different story.
Okay, so a quick serve restaurant, just so everybody knows, is kind of like
where you're ordering off a menu board.
Yep. And then the restaurants where you sit down and either have tables or what. Okay, great. We're on the same page.
Shake Shack.
Got it. All right. Okay, so we're adjourning this hearing until
Tuesday, November 16th.
Both of them. Because you open Goddard as well. So
both the text amendment and the special permit for the Goddard School, both hearings are continued to Tuesday, November 16th at 7:30 p.m. via GoToMeeting. That final login information will be posted to the town website the Thursday afternoon before that.
Fantastic. That's it for this meeting. So with that, we don't have a meeting next week because it's election day. Everyone that's running for office, good luck. And with that said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Jeff Ball makes the motion. Kara Gately's got the second. All's in favor? Aye. 5-0. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate everyone's time.